solve a mystery or get prepped for a fight. Your favorite handful of die-hard dice tonight. Against those high DCs, a 20 would be nice. Please no one's die-hard dice. Need a crit, you gotta roll with die-hard dice. Let's get dangerous. Die-hard dice. Die-hard dice. Rolling scrolls and misshaped spheres, it's so hard to decide. So many colors and designs the Die Hard can provide. Which ones should I procure? So give me some advice. You need some Die Hard dice. Oh well, we suggest you roll with the best. Die Hard dice. Let's get dangerous. Die Hard dice. Don't be dice jail for these bad boys. Die Hard dice.
Good evening, everyone. It's Wednesday here at Nerdsmith, which means it's time for Obscurum, the City of Mist actual play RPG game with my fellow crew members here. Take a quick second to go around. First of all, my name is Heath. I am the Direbear GM. You can find me on Twitch as the Direbear GM and on Twitter as DirebearAC, and where I run Obscurum on Wednesday nights. And then we also have Mr. Colton with us this evening. Colton, who are you playing and where can we find you?
I am playing Professor Robert Owens, and you can find me on Twitter at ColtonZ9 and on Instagram at ColtonX.
Excellent. And let's go over to Nyx. Let's talk about who you're playing and where we can find you.
Hey everyone, I'm Nyx. I am playing Yvonne Calloway tonight, and I am an actor, director, gamer, and GM based in Chicago. You can find me on Twitter at NyxTesseract and on Instagram at Nyx_Tesseract.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And Rev?
I'm Rev. I'm the host and GM of The Crit Show, which is an actual play podcast that focuses on Monster of the Week and other Powered by the Apocalypse games. And I also just noticed our little people down here in the corner. They're so awesome. You can find me on Twitch at Rev Deshane.
Excellent. And then last but not least, Mr. Carl.
Hi, I'm Carl Jordan. You can find me on Twitter as RPG Carl and lurking around Twitch as Just a Carl. I am playing a hapless PI named Jack Casid.
Once again, I'm your master of ceremonies for the game. I want to give a special thank you to World Anvil. Light up the forge with World Anvil, and I can speak, I promise. And also to Die Hard Dice, if you want to roll with best, roll with Die Hard Dice in that fantastic video that they had there. Let's cut right to it. Last week, you guys agreed to work with a mysterious individual after what appeared to be placing Yvonne in danger. A car taking her to an unknown location. However, the crew quickly pulled itself together, except for Professor Owens, who learned that your old friend, the man in the manic mood, was talking about the pivotal point, the decision that would either lead toward the destruction or the savior or the salvation of the city. You quickly gathered the maniacal man and stuffed him into the vehicle, driving away quickly as possible. At the same time, Dr. White stretched himself thin, so to speak, traveling the city to not only collect Jack, but also to collect Professor Owens, before finding themselves in front of an unmarked building not far from Yvonne's own father's office, where they met Mr. Gordon Renault, who, as they discovered, runs a small operation where they investigate the strange going-ons of people who are rifts or have these abilities in themselves. It's been a couple of weeks since you've worked with, since you've met Gordon and his team, the triplets. I would say 3 triplets, but that's redundant. Where you met the triplets along with Gordon and agreed to work for the organization, which you come to learn at the end of the show was called Obscurum. As we take off tonight, let's talk about what you've been doing for the last couple of weeks. We'll begin with Professor Owens.
I'm still putting out fires thanks to Mr. Endergraph. I've had to find new location for him to work so he doesn't disturb more of my business. I've also started having the company start stockpiling certain chemicals for me. I'm getting worried we might have need of certain things soon. I hope I'll find we won't. Next week is the first week of the semester, which really is a double-edged blade. I've been enjoying this break, but it will be nice to teach new students and do new research. I'm getting ready to publish my paper on the Atta-leucogericus relationship, and I'm really quite happy with it. The results have proven truly fascinating.
All right, excellent. What has Yvonne been up to in the last couple of weeks?
Well, we see a montage of some of these smaller Obscurum cases that the team has been going out on. And over top of the montage, we hear Yvonne's voice. Do you ever wonder about the ripple effect of your tiny day-to-day decisions? You go left at an intersection instead of right. You turn down one audition and say yes to another. You say hello to a man at a gala. Where do those tiny, inconsequential choices take you that you wouldn't have gone otherwise? And with so many tiny yet colossal choices every minute of every day, how can you ever be sure you've made the right ones?
All right. And let's go over to Dr. White.
It's about 1 o'clock in the morning, and we find ourselves inside of June's office above the tilt-a-whirl. And there's a drift of smoke that comes under the door, and she looks up and she sees it. And as Dr. White forms in his full regalia, she smiles and says, "Hello, Dr. White." He walks over to her desk and looks up at her mantle of various trophies. You told me once upon a time that these were here specifically to remind anyone that came in and had a meeting with you of how powerful you were. I've got one for you to add to it. And he throws his hand out, and there's a metal clunk that hits her desk. And we see that it is a charred house number, 3807. The address that used to belong to the Hogans. Put this up there so that if anyone comes in here talking to you about us, you can remember what happens to the people who cross us. And he turns and starts to walk towards the door and then pauses with his hand resting on the door. And June, if you ever see me wearing this mask and you use my real name again, we'll see how good the insurance is on this place. And he pushes the door open and lets it close, and on the door is a scorched hand mark.
A heavy note. Last but not least, what has Jack Kased PI been doing these last couple of weeks?
Well, to talk about Jack, I have to go back a little farther. He's been doing a lot of introspection. For almost a decade, my life has been the same routine. Get up, shake off yesterday's haze, line up today's work, hopefully get paid, and get a jump on tomorrow's problems. You do a job, you get paid. If you're lucky, you can pick your jobs to also do a little good in the world, but I've known for a long time now that putting do-gooding first over good hard work is a great way to lose weight and gain enemies. No matter how sad the street urchin or how sultry the sobbing damsel, you look out for number one or you wind up face down at number two. So you get up, shake off yesterday's haze, line up today's work, get a jump on tomorrow's problems. That's life. That's the job. Or at least it was. Since the storm several months ago, the city has seemed different. The shadows have had more teeth, but I've also found strange companions in that time, people who also see the strange and fight the darkness. Professor Owens is young and impetuous. He's also resourceful with a unique perspective. Dr. White is a professional in both senses of the word, able to switch to his supernatural persona straight out of a penny comic, like changing jackets, keeping his life and his friends insulated from the horror. And to be honest, that may be a trick I need to work out soon too. And then there's Miss Calloway. At first, this dame struck me as the dangerous combination of naive and self-assured. The kind of confident beauty that makes my inner chauvinist want to give her my umbrella and overcoat if she asks me for directions. But the more we work together, the more I think she may be the heart of our strange little band of misfits. I came to this revelation about 3 weeks ago after the fire, when she stopped talking to me. That sort of thing doesn't usually affect me. Why should I give a damn what a walk-in stack of glad rags and gilded society papers thinks of me anyway? She probably never seen a dry toast before. But turns out I do give a damn. About all of them. I killed people that day. Not for a meal ticket, not for a job, not even for justice or moral conviction. I killed people to protect them. To protect the weird kid professor who can probably name more bugs than I have hairs. To keep a crime family from coming after him and his crew, the doctor, the starlet, and the tired old beggar playing at cop. To keep the cops from finding my crew or knowing my shame. I killed a lot of people. Mostly very bad people, sure, but not all. To keep my crew safe. And I have to live with that. I spent a couple of weeks trying to get back in my old routine, trying to forget, but the weight of this weapon seems double on me every day. Heavy on my shoulders, but light in my hand. It calls to me, reminding me how easy it is to solve problems, to change fate, to prune a few human tumors from humanity. With a simple flick of the finger. Sometimes I could swear I hear it whispering people's sins to me, trying to goad me into giving them the one-way lead tickets out of town. It's been harder every day to keep it put away. Then came that meeting with Renault and his bodyguard triplets. How easy it would have been to burn my way in, barrels blazing. But I kept it in check, holstered, trusting my crew. I stayed my hand and closed my trap until asked for input. And where did it get us? Now we're up to our ears in some secret society called Obscurum, probably dying to teach us all of their secret handshakes and whatnot. That was 11 days ago, and I haven't worked a day since. Hell, I haven't really slept much since. I'm dead tired and I've started hearing things. I was already seeing things, but it seems worse now too. In the last 11 days, I've checked up on each of the 3 members of the crew. The prof, the doc, and the starlet, at work or at home, but in secret like when I investigate someone. Not interfering in their day-to-days, just keeping peepers on them from time to time, watching for the proverbial other shoe. I've checked in on my old pal Jimmy the cop and his wife Mary. I even called up Betty Horning to check on Ames, the invisible horn player. I got within line of sight of the tilt-a-whirl, and it wasn't on fire, so I kept stepping. Talking to June Perkins any more than necessary feels like a hobby best left to people who bet on horses. In truth, I did all of that to quiet the voices and distract myself, because I'd rather be doing almost anything than checking on poor old Jack. My old routine gave me too much time to think. Thinking about it doesn't make the pain or the voices go away. And after the crimes I've covered up, I'm not sure I can keep the lawful detective act up any longer. That chapter is over now. I wonder if I can convince Renault's secret cult to pay to keep my heat on, since we've been catching suspicious people for his new group, Obscurum, our new group. Maybe I should talk to him about doing that full time until I can figure more things out. And as Jack ponders how to pay his dues, like the one for the new work number he bought, that phone rings. Unless you're a bill collector, this is Cased Investigations.
Actually, Mr. Cased, I've a bit more to do than just collect bills. You know about the heat that's going on currently in the city, don't you?
I've been following it.
Consider myself an interested party. They're bad people. Do you understand?
I might have an inkling.
Hmm.
What's your business?
My business is to undermine one or the other or both. And you seem like the kind of individual that asks very few questions as long as there's enough zeros following the initial number.
What's the job?
Yevgeny Kharkov. You know the name.
I've heard of it. He's one of the families.
That's correct. The head of the Kharkov family.
I'm still listening.
Do the city and yourself a favor and make it so that Yevgeny has no more problems for the city. Unless you would rather take on the other part of that faction.
What makes you think I want anything to do with this?
Let's just say that it's in your best interest.
That doesn't sound like it has any zeros in it.
You'll be compensated well for your trouble.
Who is this?
My name is not important as of the moment. Just understand that I have very deep pockets. Very deep indeed.
I would like to ask the MC if I can make a check.
What check would you like to make, sir?
I would like to call upon one of my themes cracked and went away last game, and I've learned a new theme of divination. I would like to call upon a power tag called Expose Hidden Secrets.
All right. Burning that tag?
To just succeed?
Just to succeed.
Okay, I'll do that. I'll burn the tag.
Okay. So, if I'm not mistaken, that allows you a few things. In the success there. What is it that you're asking specifically for?
I am trying to investigate enough about this guy to see if I can fit him into the puzzle, see if I can figure out who he is and what it is he's after.
Okay. Using the contextual clues around you, what power, you said, what was the power tag again that you burned?
Divination. Expose hidden secrets.
Hidden secrets, okay.
So basically trying to get him to talk more than he planned to or something.
Sure. You also use the contextual elements from behind him, like what you can hear through the phone. And it's not what you hear, but it's what you don't hear. It is oddly quiet, giving you the impression that he is somewhere in a room, but his voice is echoing. Like when he talks to you, there's a little echo in it. You pick up that he's not only in a room like secluded, but that he's in a large room. Given the style and the mannerism of his voice and things like that, you also pick up that he's not lying about having the very deep pockets. Well, the choice is yours, Mr. Kasid. There is the matter of Kharkov, or if you would prefer to take on Casaloni, that would be your choice as well. I will pay you handsomely for either one.
And what say I turn you down? You're not worried about repercussions? People knowing that someone is behind a wanted hit?
You think that either one of those idiots would believe you?
Who says I go to them?
What, do you think the cops in this town have any other inkling as to what's going on truly? They're nothing more than puppets and pawns. Just like these two idiots. If it weren't for the fact that someone burned down Hogan, I wouldn't have it. You nearly had me.
Yeah, puppets and pawns. What does that make me?
A bishop, or if you would prefer, a knight.
What does that make you?
Don't you understand? I'm the king in all of this. All you have to do is say yes. I will make the proper arrangements. You can even use whatever individuals that you would like.
I'll think about it and call you back.
Call me back at this number. And he provides you with a phone number that you clearly know is going to be rerouted through certain things.
All right, thanks. And I'm hanging up the phone.
Excellent. So there you are, across town with an offer. A lot of zeros followed behind a certain number that yet is to be described. All you have to do is take out one of the two threats to the city anyways. And with the streets exploding with danger, what are you doing first?
I'm going to start by calling Jimmy the cop.
All right. Dr. White. A small uptick in activity at the clinic, thanks to the outbreak of violence here and there between the two remaining families, the Castellinis and the Kharkovs. They're both vying for position, jockeying, using their men to secure the area. How has that affected Dr. White? What are you doing this morning?
I think it is having a conversation actually in my office with a few of the people that we saw last at the gala. And they are looking over blueprints to try and expand this facility. Dr. White's office is small, but it is affordable. And so they are making donations to try to buy up some more of this block to try to expand this practice.
All right. One of the individuals mentions in a nonchalant way concerning the activity as of late, and has mention of, I have a friend of a friend, sort of a thing. I know that they would be willing and happy to help fund further advancements of your clinic as a donation. Consider them an interested investor. If it is found that certain aid and respite could be lent, if a situation were to arise where we were not trying to keep this necessarily in a records, if that makes any sense to you.
I think that upon hearing that, I turn and I look towards the door because I've heard this pitch before, and I'm looking to see if there's anyone here with them. And I think there is a sigh. How many people are in this room with us?
I think there's only like 4, because your office is not huge, but it's, enough to accommodate them.
Yes, actually, if you wouldn't mind, hang around for a moment once we've finished up and we can chat about that.
Certainly. And of course, he had pulled you just a little aside and kind of mentioned this under his breath so as not to be just like sharing all of his information. Wrapping your meeting, you all agree to meet again henceforth, and the rest of them leave with the exception of this one individual who still stands there holding his hat and kind of making circles with it in his hands. Something seems off about him.
Are you all right? You seem a little antsy for someone who's simply here to discuss the funding of medical supplies and perhaps some new construction materials.
Yeah, well, just I want to make sure that everything goes off without a hitch. You know how it goes.
So, who asked you to talk to me about this? Very obviously, and I'll go and close the door against your better judgment.
I'm not sure what you mean. Go ahead and I'd like for you to investigate this one a little bit deeper. Let's see if you can pull some information out of him.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to do Port in the Storm, and I'm actually going to use one of my new tags. It's from Where There's Fire, called Burning Core, which is just a heat behind the eyes and intensity used to kind of intimidate.
Is it the rock smolder?
Yes. And then I think that's probably the only 2 that apply right now.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, he drops his hat for a moment, looking at your intense gaze, and seeing like the burn there in the back of your eyes, that spark of intensity. He quickly bends down and picks it up. He says, "I never got his name. He was a tall guy, thin, in a gray suit. Said that he had talked to you before about it, but that maybe if somebody else asked, and maybe he would change your mind. I'm not sure."
And does that match the description of the man who offered me a ride home? Do you imagine that... I need you to be frank with me. When you report my response, do you feel like you're going to be in danger if things don't go the way they want?
Very much so.
All right. I'm going to have you... Are they calling you? Are they picking you up?
They said they would contact me once we got out of the meeting, but they didn't say how.
All right. I'm going to put someone on my desk for a while, and I'm going to go with you. Let's go have a coffee, see if they show up. And I think my mindset is that I'm going to be seen with him, and my kind of long-term plan would be to let him wander away in hopes of seeing them approach him so that I could try to get to them.
Using him as bait.
Yeah.
Kind of way. Okay. You can see that there is beads of sweat that are broken out on his head. He's constantly wiping his face. As you can see, he's just like super nervous.
No, please, I understand there's no reason to be nervous. I understand that you have been forced into this. I have not created a place here. I mean, you see the part of town that I operate in. I get offers like this almost every time I go out to pick up the mail.
Okay, thanks for understanding. I'm just here as a representative of my own investments, but they approached me. Anyways, I appreciate it. And again, he's like turning the hat to the point where the hem of it is, or like where the stitching is, it's starting to wear thin. He looks a little more relaxed, but still very nervous about the situation.
Yeah. And yeah, I come on, let's go get you something to eat. and I'll kind of put my hand on his back and usher him out the building.
Okay. As you leave, you start to head around towards the diner, the nearest one. And I'm not even going to roll for this one because it's not hiding. It's not being obvious, but it's easy to see. There is a black car. It looks like a Ford sedan. The big, starting to have the less bubble, but still bubbled fenders on it. That seems to be following you a little bit.
I think that when I realize that, I'm going to kind of excuse him into the shop, and I'll actually walk over to the car, and I just kind of stand by the window.
It eventually descends. The man with the narrow face and the gray suit with the hawkish nose, his eyebrows, kind of a bushy tuft over each eye. His hair currently is a wispy, thin, grayish color. He has his hat sitting in his lap, but it is very much the same man that originally invited you along for this ride before, and he looks at you. Dr. White, how are you?
I'm not too bad. I thought upon a second approach, I probably should come and have a chat with you. Do you mind if we go for a drive?
I don't mind at all. He slides over, but not before unlatching the door and pushing it open so that you can slide in. Behind you here, Dr. White, is the guy still like standing half in and out of the diner.
Yeah, and I'll just kind of wave to him and kind of I'm trying to just give him the go on motion.
Okay. Okay. He suddenly checks his watch nervously as the door closes and the car pulls away. So, have you given any further thought to the offer that we have made for you, or actually the request that we have made of you?
Yes, I have. And what is the inside of the car like? I know that it was big. There were 2 sets of seats in the back.
This is a different one. This is just a large bench seat. This would be the traditional, more sedan style. So the front seats are directly in front of you. It's not as big as, like, say, a Roadmaster was, but it's still plenty of room between you and the seats in front of you.
Okay,
But,
and
yeah, it's not super plush.
has did he roll the window back up when I got in the car?
No, actually, it is still down.
I'm actually gonna say, like, would you mind? It's a little brisk.
Of course. You're actually at that side of the door, so you
Okay.
could roll the window up.
Oh yeah, so I will just kind of, as I'm talking, then I'm rolling the window up. Yes, I have thought about what you've said, and about the time that I get it up, I want to change the game, and I think I'm actually going to burn a tag to do this.
Just like cars full
And
of
I
smoke.
think that, like, yes, that we just pan out away from this car as it fills with smoke and faces. Like, I don't know if this guy is
Ooh.
a pushover, or if he's got abilities of his own. But yeah, I think my plan is to get him and his driver, and I'm gonna give him a hell of a time here in a second.
Are you just using it to obfuscate so he can't see out of it, or are you going to actually use it to, like, pummel him? What is the plan? Well, you know what? You change the game and then tell me what you're doing.
Okay. So I think that I'm gonna use Burning Core because I think this is exactly what it's for. That he's just so mad about this. That I'm gonna burn that tag to do it. And so that just makes it succeed. Is that right?
Right. That's correct. From what I understand, it just succeeds.
And so I think that.
It gives it a power of 3 and makes the roll automatically a 7, so it gives you a 10.
Oh, awesome.
Okay. There it is. Thank you. All right. So, what scene do we see in there?
So I think the scene that we see, I'm checking out of the corner of my eye to make sure I see all of the proper things. I think I'm gonna scale up the effect, and what I'm gonna scale up the effect of is my ability to turn things into smoke. And for this brief, strange moment, like the whole car, the driver, the passenger, and myself just.
Okay. For anybody that's walking down the street, it looks like a ghost vehicle for a second as it just like barrels down the road and it's swerving left and right because he can no longer see. It jams on the brakes, but maybe something gets lodged between his foot. One of your forms is like keeping it brake from depressing. So while it kind of slows for a second, and then all of a sudden it starts to speed up again. And you hear in the back seat, "What is this? What's going on? I don't understand. Oh God." And there's sudden clarity of daylight from the passenger side rear door, and you realize what it is, and you hear a as he is dove from the car, and a second later there's a screeching sound, and then you see the same kind of light from the front door. A little less because the car tried to decelerate once more, and so there's still the as the car just slams into a pole, but no effect on you because you are smoke. And you hear that sudden lurch, and then tink, and then all of a sudden, as the telephone pole that you hit, made of wood, snaps the lines and then lands on top of the car.
And I'm gonna get out, and I'm in my normal clothes,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just going to walk over to him. He's hit the ground. He has rolled.
Mm-hmm.
If I ever see you, period, there's no proximity, there's no time or place connected to the sentence. If I ever see you again, you'll be in that car the next time that happens. And
What are you doing?
and then I'm just going to help him up and kind of turn him towards his driver and give him a pat on the back.
As you turn him towards his driver, you see the driver groggily standing to his feet, and you see a very familiar motion. It's one that you've seen Jack do at least 2 or 3 times. The hand going inside of the jacket, and he starts to pull a pistol and aims it at you, firing.
Okay, I'm gonna try to face danger, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm going to use, I think I'm going to use cleansing fire, because again, now like the downside of this power tag is that my weakness is rage based. That when it starts to happen, he gets a little hot tempered, is what it's called.
Appropriately named.
Yeah, and so I think that he reaches out to like slag the gun.
Mm-hmm.
So I will use cleansing fire and eye for weakness. And could I justify using smoke screen? Is there enough coming out of the car still?
I mean, yes. Although...
Oh, that's not me technically using the power.
Yeah. You didn't use smoke screen there. Okay. You reach out, but you're just a hair too late. And as you do, you turn your shoulder and you feel it, but it's a grazing shot, so you know you'll be fine. But what you hear behind you, you've heard a time or two before, and it's the sound of metal hitting flesh. As you turn, the man behind you that you were turning towards his friend does not get the time to turn. And the shot rings out throughout the streets, and it seems to hang in the air as you turn back and watch the man look down. And it's not a big hole. It's not the Hollywood tear through things. It's just a perforation and then a blossoming. And he just kind of looks down at it, more in shock and surprise that, hey, that happened. And as he looks back up at you, confusion in his face. He takes kind of a step forward. His hand touches the blossoming and then reaches out for you as though to steady himself. As he does, he leaves a red imprint on your shoulder. But the strength is already sapped from him, and he watches, he hits his knees, and then just kind of without even hesitating, just falls forward.
I am at a moral dilemma because I, the player, want to react and help him, but I have lost my doctor tag that requires me to save people. And I feel like with the weakness tag that is in play right now, oh no. I think I turn my attention back to the man with the gun and start moving towards him.
He realizes that he's trying to, there's no other, it's melted in his hand, but he doesn't recognize that it's melted. It's not deformed to the point, but you can see that it's warped at the end. And he's trying to get the mechanism, and he looks up at you, and he does the only thing he can do, and half-heartedly just kind of whips the gun in your direction. The melted, just metal chunk in your direction.
I am going to, I think that I'm going to take that hit from it so that I can just get on him without trying to.
Okay.
I think this is just a straight walk.
It's such an ineffective thing that, I mean, again, like I said, it doesn't really have any effect on you. I mean, it kind of bounces off of you, but it's not even a status, like, it doesn't even leave an imprint. It just kind of poof, and then bounces off of you. You're going to wince for a second, but nothing major. And the next thing you know, you're on him.
Yeah, what does the scene look like? This gun has fired. People are kind of screaming. Like, what is the street?
The street is now, it's not erupting with people. Like, it's not a mobbed crowd that's standing there looking at this whole scene. But people are doing that curious thing where they're starting to look, and you hear more people. The ringing in your ears and the red fire in your eyes, though, you don't really even recognize it until you kind of look past him for a second. Your eyes shoot over, and you can see a couple, a man and a woman, probably in their 50s. It doesn't even recognize what kind of shop it is, but their faces are peeking out around this glass door that marks the entrance to their shop. And they both look kind of like shocked and surprised and at a loss.
I think that it is the sight of them that slows me down. Like, what I was going to do a moment ago, like, as it starts to happen, like, I imagine that I'm starting to shake and there's a little bit of smoke rising off it. It's like I'm getting ready to split into multiple people and just make this man vanish. But I see these people looking out, and one of them is someone I have treated before. And I just very, like, it is so... I just put a knee in his groin to take him down. So, like, there's this moment of pause of, like, this can't go on like this. This is about to escalate very badly, and so I just want him to stop.
Okay. If I'm not mistaken, it's still going to be a... Does it give it all you got? If I'm not mistaken, that's what it is?
Yeah, hit with all you got. Boy, I hope not with all I got. He's going to have a bad day.
Well, you can hit with all you've got, but that doesn't necessarily mean you have to give it all you've got.
Yeah, exactly. So
I engulf my hand in flame, and I put no...
All right. I think that is the only one that's going to go here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no.
You go to swing at him, and he is so startled, but he's a seasoned fighter. He's still trying to figure out what just happened, how blindingly fast you turn, the fact that he shot his colleague, his boss. You don't know their relationship, but as he sees you drive up, he steps back. He does that thing where he, like, dives back, leaning forward, and slams his hands down against your knees. The next thing you know, he has his hands up. He swings out, looking like he's not trying to lay a haymaker on you, but maybe hit you in the ear. And he swings his hand around.
Yeah, I'm going to try to sidestep it.
All right. Face the danger.
I don't have anything I can use for this.
Ooh.
Okay.
It's a cuffing blow, not enough to really cause you anything. You do kind of like lose your footing for a second. You have to rise up. He takes that second, though, and again, like I said, he's a seasoned fighter. He takes that second to try to dive in. You want to try to get a shot off on him again before he actually punches you in the head.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna kind of lean in and try to hit him with a haymaker.
Okay, go for it.
A 7.
Okay. As he's swinging over the top again with the right hand, which you can tell is not his dominant hand, believe it or not, he swings a little less with it. It seems to drop his shoulder, and you, taking the classes that you do, recognize that move, and that's when you step in and you hit him. Hits him in the jaw, catches him perfectly. His chin goes where his ear was, and for a second he just kind of staggers for a moment, and then he just topples to the ground.
And I like kind of step back as well, and one of my ears is ringing, and I turn to the people in the window, and I'm like, call the police. There's been a murder. Someone's been shot. And I'm just gonna kind of sit on the floor on the ground and wait.
Yeah. It's that one where it just passes it enough to really get it, like being thumped in the ear really good. For a second, people are starting to gather around. You don't see that anybody's moving to make a phone. They're all just kind of like, they're all still like doing looky-loo.
Oh boy. Oh, that's gonna be bad. I think that, yeah, I'm just gonna set this whole, I keep using this weakness tag. I think that there's a moment where I'm sitting on the ground and there's that frustration again, and I shout out like, he just killed a man. Don't give him time to recover. Someone call the fucking cops.
As you shout at them, it kind of snaps a few of them out of that moment of like, what is going on? And one of them immediately runs in. It's the older man, and he runs back into his shop. He's gone for maybe a minute or two, and then he's back out again. And he says, he looks at you, and he kind of like kneels down. He's, "You bleeding, son?"
It's not mine.
No, and he kind of like taps to the shoulder where the bullet grazed past you.
Oh, yes, gosh, in all of the chaos, I forgot. And I kind of realize how there's that burn right there along that muscle.
He looks you over and says, "Do you need any help with anything? I was a field medic back a long time ago."
Yes, if you wouldn't mind taking a look at it. Actually, it's a hard spot to see on yourself.
Harriet, go get my kit from underneath. She disappears. And as she is tending to you, the cops finally arrive and they round the situation up. But you're pulled aside because they have some questions about what happened. Yvonne. My brain is not here today right now. Yvonne, it has been a whirlwind of a couple of weeks. Working some jobs for Gordon and finding people who are powered and some who aren't, who just happen to be bad people overall. Where is this morning finding you?
I think Yvonne is sort of on a bit of a career hiatus right now. Her picture has just opened. She hasn't started shooting the next one yet. In fact, I think Max is probably in negotiations. She's done some screen testing, but she's got a little bit of a break career-wise. And so any moment that the team is not out doing jobs for Gordon, she is at home pouring through that file that he gave her with information about her brother, just looking for anything cross-referencing with all of the things she has gathered over the years, making phone calls when appropriate, trying to put more pieces together, but she's just trying to glean anything she can out of those documents.
All right. Perfect. Most of the documents, like I said, are things that they're not most of them. There are a lot of them in there that are things that you could have found if you had the proper access, like, the reading over the files and things like that. There are things though that are not easily obtainable. And what I'd like for you to do is give me investigation. I want you to investigate the file.
All right. So insatiable need for truth is clearly coming into play here.
Yes.
That's probably it, unless... Yeah, no, that's probably it. I was going to say maybe family name and money, but this didn't come from my research. This is his. So, yeah, I think that's probably it. Insatiable need for truth.
Okay.
All right, so rolling investigate with a power of 1. Lovely, that's a 5.
As you're reading over it, unbeknownst to you, one of the pieces that had a part of the evidence that you weren't aware of until this vial falls, flutters, and slides underneath a piece of furniture that may be found, but who knows when. The next time someone comes in to clean, probably.
That's fair.
As you're looking over it, though, you recognize that it's that moment where you know you've seen something, but now you can't find it. Not like you've lost your car keys, but like, okay, there's a scene in this movie. I swear to you, I know that quote came from that movie, but all of a sudden it's not there. And you're like, this is driving me crazy. So you're not able to glean anything more from what you have here without going somewhere and confronting someone or digging further on your own. What would you like to do with this time? You have this file. You can try to reach out to someone. But who do you want to start by reaching out to?
Is there anything in the file that would give me an indication of what would be a potential good starting point?
There are several eyewitness of the incident, of the accident that occurred.
Okay.
And those would probably be, because they are eyewitness affidavits from the police, it means it includes their address as well. And there's only like 3 of them.
Okay. Whichever one of them seems to have the most detailed affidavit, I think is the one I want to start with.
Okay. The most detailed affidavit is from it's from a man who lives not far from the scene, and he just mentions how he happened to be out for he doesn't know what possessed him to take that stroll that evening. It's outside of his normal time, but he was just out for a walk. And he has like the most clear details, like his memory was the freshest.
Okay.
The other 2 are not necessarily like tertiary, but they got there like moments after everything occurred. So he would be the first one to start with.
Is this affidavit all old information? Does it look like they ever followed up with him later, or is this all from years ago?
Most of it is all from years ago. However, there are a couple of open-ended questions that it looks like they never followed up with, or it just kind of like went cold from there. So like I said, there are a couple of questions that you could follow up on. One was, did you check on him, or did you go forth to see where he was at? And 2, did you see what occurred beyond, or I should say, did you see what occurred, or can you recall what occurred immediately after, as opposed to what happened at the time of? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I think, I don't know, the logical thing would maybe be to call first and see if he's even still at that address, but I don't know that she's thinking very logically right now. And so I think she's just going to ring up Paul, her driver, and have him take her directly to that address, thinking that if this first person isn't there, she'll just move on to the next address and the next, and hoping that seeing her in person will prompt people to be more likely to talk.
Okay. So as you are in the car driving, it actually has to take you past the scene, which, you know, it builds up some memories. But as you go, you can see a simple home, more of a almost like a bungalow, that sits there. And there is an old car, a Studebaker, that looks like it hasn't been driven in years, but it's sitting there. There's no mail or newspapers piled up, so that gives you the indication that someone's there. The lawn could use some tending to, but I mean, like I said, it's not overgrown to the point where it gives you the idea that someone is, or that the home is derelict or left abandoned. Striding up the short steps to the front door, before you even get a chance to knock, the door is opened. A short man, a hair or two over 5 feet tall, standing there with a large gray robe wrapped around him. He's got very short cut hair on top of his head, like it's, you know, shorn. And he has these big, thick bottle glasses that actually like magnify his eyes as he blinks up at you. Goes, "Who are you?"
Hello, Mr. And I would know from his file that his name is
It's actually just Brown.
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 Mr. Brown, my name is Yvonne. Are you the Mr. Brown that lived here several years ago? And I sort of point to his name on the affidavit that gave this affidavit to the police.
He does the thing where he holds it like, "The only one. I inherited the place from my father. You know, when we moved here, we changed the name. It was actually Braun, Braun, but we thought with the tensions and the way that they were that he changed the name, and then I'm the only one that's lived here ever since then. Jacob, it's a pleasure to meet you. Please call me Jacob."
Jacob, that's very polite. Thank you. And I'm Yvonne, as I said. Would you mind if I come in and talked to you a little bit about this affidavit?
You a cop?
No, not at all.
Then come on in.
Do I look like a cop?
No. You
right, so
look
follow
like
me.
that actress lady.
Yes, that is actually me. I don't know if you realized that was my brother that was killed that night that you were that you'd witnessed.
I didn't realize that. Sorry.
Thank you. I was wondering if, I was very young at the time. I was only 6, and I'm just trying to put together the pieces. I was wondering if you'd tell me a little bit more. I mean, I've got the words here on the paper, but if you could just tell me sort of in your own words what you remember from that night.
It's been a long time, but I'm pretty sure that I could remember it if I just give me a moment. Do you want some coffee or tea?
Certainly. Some coffee sounds lovely.
Okay. I'll start the percolator again. Give me a moment. And he shuffles about into the kitchen to start the coffee again, but he starts talking back to you. It was not raining, but it was wet outside. Like it had just stopped raining, and I don't know, but maybe because that's the reason that I walked out so late. Was because it was raining, and I didn't want to walk in the rain, and so I waited, and that's when I decided to go out. Give me just one moment. He says, I remember that it was dark, of course, and then the streets were wet, and the neighbor that used to live there had this little dog that always got out of the house and would bark and cause such a ruckus. And then I was walking and the dog was causing a ruckus, so I used to sneak a bit of excuse me, I used to sneak a little bit of a hot dog with me, and that way I could throw it and he wouldn't bark. And that's whenever I heard the sound. So the bridge that's back over there that leads to that large gully, that culvert there, it's a big drop. Anyways, I The dog had stopped barking at me, and about that time, I heard the sound of tires screeching and then metal rending. I turned and looked, and I saw a car go over the side of the bridge. And then it hit, and I heard the crunch, and I'm sorry, I know this is... And he comes back in holding a coffee that's shaking a little bit in his hands, and he sets it down in front of you. I'm sorry, this must be terrible for you. I remember that the car hit, and I heard the sound of a small, like, explosion or boom or something, and then the sound of fire.
So did you see any of this happen, or was it all just what you heard?
I heard the initial hit, and then I turned, and that's when I saw the car going over the edge.
Did you see anything after that? Did you go look?
I started moving over in that direction, and about that time, the neighbor with the little dog I was mentioning, she came out and she was yelling at me for giving her dog a bite of the hot dog, and then I was saying, stop yelling at me, somebody went over the edge, and then we made it over there. And by that time, I'm so sorry, dear, but the car was on fire.
And you didn't see my brother as if he had been thrown from the car or anything like that? Are you sure he was inside?
I didn't climb down. Like I said, it's probably 60 feet to the bottom, and I'm sorry, but like I said, I didn't see anybody. It was dark. There was light, of course. Forgive my crassness from the fire, but I didn't see any body lying there. I'm sorry, dear.
Okay. As you think back to the scene now, all these years later, is there anything that you can think of that maybe you forgot to tell them at the time, or anything else after that that maybe didn't seem relevant then but seems relevant now in hindsight? Anything else?
I think they got the witness's statement, but soon after, there was another vehicle that pulled up. But I swear to you that when I was out there, I didn't remember seeing no cars, but it seemed to come out of like almost nowhere. The driver got out, ran around, and made an exclamation that I'm not going to say in front of pleasant company such as yourself. But he seemed distraught. He's a handsome fellow, dressed nicely. It's a nice car, too.
What did he seem upset, as in surprised that he had just seen this happen? Or, forgive me, this is going to sound like a very strange question, did he seem upset at how things had gone, as if he had been involved?
I'm sorry. I don't know. He just seemed to make his little exclamation and then kind of like rub his head. And by that time, the neighbor was rushing back to the house to call for the police and for the ambulance. He stuck around in the hood of the car, but didn't say much beyond that.
Heath, does what he's saying right now match anything in the other affidavits? Like, does it seem that the person he's talking about could be one of the other people that they spoke with?
Very much so, yeah.
Okay.
The other two people were the driver of pulled up
Mhm.
and the neighbor that he had been feeding the hot dog to.
Okay,
dog.
great.
So
Okay, Mr. Brown, if you don't think there's anything else, this has been very helpful, even just to talk to someone. I was very young when this happened, and my parents have never really spoken to me about what happened. I think they're trying to protect me, but I can't express how therapeutic it is just to even speak with someone else about what happened that night. So thank you very much for that.
you're very welcome. I hope you get closure on it. I'm sorry to say, the lady that lived next door, Louise, excuse me, she's moved. I might be able to find her address. And he kind of gets up and shifts over to a kind of a buffet, and on the top of it you can see it's just a jumbled mess of different things, and you can see though that there is some envelopes there, and he's kind of like sifting through them and looking at them closely, and then he kind of here we go. He brings one over to you and kind of puts it in your hand. The address is outside of town, but it seems to be like, at least the last time this said, but it is a few years old, like probably 4 or 5 years old.
Okay. Thank you so much for this. I can't tell you what a huge help this is. You didn't know the other gentleman by any chance, did you?
Sorry, I didn't even catch his name. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Handsome guy though.
Okay. Thank you so much. And I'm going to write my number down on a piece of paper for him and just say, if you think of anything else, if you remember something, even if it seems like a silly, inconsequential thing, I would love to hear about it.
Of course, if I can remember anything, but that's pretty much what happened there. That's what I saw.
Okay.
But he
Thank
clutches
you.
your number in his hands. Oh, you're very welcome. And he kind of like turns back in and like walks you to the door and then ushers you out. The other affidavit has the name and address of the person that was in the car.
Mm-hmm.
Give me another investigation roll.
I reached on my desk for actual dice.
That's me on Monday. That's me on Monday. Every day I'm like, wait, what? Where are my dice?
All right. And so this is this looking in the affidavit, or what am I investigating? Okay, so I can't use insatiable need for truth again.
Yeah, you're looking at this affidavit in particular. The reason is because the name is not John Doe, but it's very like
Generic?
John Smith, very
Yeah.
generic. Yeah.
Okay.
His first name is human, last name generic.
All right. I can't use insatiable need for truth again, but now that I've got something a little bit more specific that I'm keying in on, how do you feel about uncanny perceptiveness?
I think that's actually a really good use, especially given what I want you to look for.
Okay. It's not cryptic
That fits
at all.
well.
Great. Okay, so rolling investigate with a power of 1.
Me cryptic never.
Oh, good. 10.
Wow, nicely done.
Thank you.
The address and the name, you can easily tell, working in the industry that you do, are given as a fake.
What are you saying about actors, Heath?
I'm saying that they're used to seeing things that aren't real and embellishing upon those things is exactly what I'm saying, Nick.
The phone number is 1234567.
The phone number has a 555 in it. What prefix is that? I have a last action hero moment there. All right. However, you do have the address of the other person that you saw.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything in the affidavit that where the contact information is faked? Do I get the sense that the affidavit information is also false? Like, what kind of sense do I get from that?
That is a fantastic question. Given that role that you have, you know that the information for the contact is fake. However, the affidavit information is partially true.
Okay.
You get the idea that I just saw it go over and then it lit on fire. Or actually it says, I pulled up and it was on fire. I didn't see anybody. It's very much somebody who's given exactly enough information to be credible, but nothing more than that.
Mm-hmm. All right. There's part of me that wants to try to get more information from Mr. Braun about the car and whatnot, but as she stands outside thinking about this, I think she realizes that the likelihood of finding records on a car 20 years ago are probably pretty slim. So I kind of file that away and think maybe if things get healed up with Jack and I, he may be able to help me look into that piece of it. But I just sort of put a pin in that mentally for now and flip to the address that he gave me for this other witness.
All right. And as you give the address to Paul and take off across the city, Professor Owens, class is in session, and the morning. I'm sorry, I don't give you a choice. And what are you doing this morning? Class is in full swing, and your new students are there. You're giving out, as the class rolls to an end, you're giving out assignments for them to do. Basically, it's just basic reading and then identifying parts and things like that. As the class rolls to an end and it empties out, another one of your colleagues enters in. He gives you the small talk and the banter about your paper that you're submitting and that you're getting ready to submit, I should say. Unable to keep it under wraps in your own eagerness. For my own edification and for that of the audience, what was the name of the insect that you were doing the paper on?
So the paper is on a type of ant it's a genus called Atta. And the Atta is a type of leaf cutter. They use leaves to they use leaves to grow a fungus, which they eat. They developed agriculture millions of years before we did.
All right. Does anybody else feel that Colton's in the wrong, like the wrong study?
But so the fungus is called the Leucogerica. And that's what the paper is about, like how the ants deal with the fungus.
He is excited and interested in doing more research on the fungus side of things as opposed to the entomology side of it and studying the ant. But he also says that he had an interested investor to help with the situation, but there's a key tie-in to this. And this is the part that I need to talk to you about, Professor. The gentleman in particular that has the investment says that the only way that he's going to do it is if he can buy stock in the chemical, enough to become a shareholder.
Do you by chance have a name of this gentleman?
As a matter of fact, I do. Let's go to my office, though, while I look for that in particular. And he escorts you down back to his office, talking about the fungus. He's more interested in that than anything else. As you arrive, he steps into his office, picking up the pipe and packing some tobacco in there. What was that name? Is it Martin, I believe? Martin. Last name, not the first name.
Martin. Yeah, I would be definitely interested in communicating with him about this. Do you have his...
Yes, hang on a moment. And he, papers off the side. He hands you a piece of paper, and it is simply titled with Henry Martin and a phone number.
Okay. Put it in my pocket.
Fellow. He was an interesting fellow. I asked if you'd like to meet him in particular, and he said that he didn't have the time. A funny accent. Funny sounding voice.
Well, good to know. Thank you for bringing this to my attention.
Of course.
I get the feeling that this man is almost more of a in shambles than I am, just from a... Okay.
He's wearing the cardigan where all the buttons are slightly off. So like one tail hangs a little longer than the other one. He smokes. He always has that pipe with him, like Hugh Hefner-esque, where he's constantly has it in his hand. Even when he's teaching, and you've known this, most of the faculty just kind of brush it aside for the eccentricities, especially given the natural science side of it that he works with. But he does have it there though for you, at least because it must have been a more recent note. It didn't get buried in it amongst the stack of other things there. So, but he waves you and leaves you on your thing. Back at your office, what would you like to do?
I am going to take out this phone number and call it.
Okay. When it rings about 3 times before you hear someone answer, and the voice goes, "Hello."
Hello, is this Henry Martin?
One moment. And you hear the sound of the receiver being set down on a desk. There's a few moments before you hear the receiver being picked up again. The voice that speaks says, "This is Henry Martin. To whom do
Hello.
I-"
I'm Professor Robert Owens. You left your phone number with a colleague of mine.
Ah, yes, Professor Owens. I'm so glad that you've called me back. Did he perhaps mention the proposition that they had for you?
Yes, you were interested in purchasing a part of my company.
A small part. Understand that I could have gone to the shareholders and purchased it myself through them, but I thought cut out the middleman, go directly to the source, and talk to him myself. You seem a personable individual. I've seen you at the gala, and you seem to make friends easily. I've seen you around town a bit.
Oh yes, well one must keep up appearance.
Yes, one must, as always, keep up appearances and things, especially when it comes to socialites and being involved in some of these things. So, anyways, I don't mean to keep you or bore you, but is there a chance, Professor, that we could meet?
Yes, I just finished my last class for the day, and I do not have office hours. I was going to do a little more writing in, but I definitely could postpone that for a day or two.
I tell you what, I would love to get a tour of your factory if it's possible. Perhaps I could meet you there at the warehouse.
I was more thinking lunch, but that would work just as well.
Ah, well. Perhaps grab lunch on the way. I'll meet you in, say, an hour?
That will work perfect.
Well, that is good. Do svidaniya, friend. And the phone is hung up. Jack.
Cool.
You have an hour to get ready for your meeting. In the meantime, Jack, have you given any more thought to the phone call and the proposition that was made to you?
Well, yeah. So the first thing I want to do, my gut reaction, is to call my cop friend Jimmy.
Yes. And as you call him, Jack, it's good to hear from you, man.
Hey, Jimmy. I was wondering if I could ask you for a little guidance, procedurally.
I might be Irish Catholic, but I'm no priest. What can I do for you?
Oh, it's nothing that fancy. If I need to track down what's at the other end of an answering, and all I've got's a phone number, how would you suggest I go about doing this?
Whoa, that's a question. Well, I could probably help you out with that a bit. If you'd like to give me the number, I can make some inquiries. Take me a bit of time, of course.
Can you do it on the quiet? This might be dangerous.
Jack, there's one thing that I've learned about you over the last few years. Is that you and Danger sort of skip hand in hand down the street most of the time. So, I'll keep it quiet for you. But it'll cost you.
All
Dinner
right.
with me and the missus. What do you say, Sunday?
I think I can manage that.
All
If I'm
right.
still alive Sunday, I'll be there.
You better be alive, you bastard. You owe me. You bring the bourbon. I'll see you then.
Giving him the number.
Excellent. He takes it down, hangs up the phone, and from there, we're going to cut quickly back to Yvonne. After traveling for a few minutes, you pull up to a farmhouse. It's a small thing, a small amount of land, maybe a couple of acres. One of those self-sustaining things. You can see that there's a woman in the front yard, probably in her 50s, and she is currently hanging laundry out on the line.
And I know from the file her name is...
Her name was Louise, and her last name is Frankine. Frankine! You can be Frankenstein, I can be Eichel.
Okay, so I will have Paul wait in the driveway and I'll walk over to her. Hi, are you Louise Frankine?
Oh, yes, just call me Louise.
Hi, Louise. My name is Yvonne. I was wondering if I could talk to you a little bit.
She drops the piece of laundry she's holding in her hand and puts her hands to her mouth. As I live and breathe. Yvonne Calloway.
Yes, that's me.
Yeah, and here I am in my work clothes.
Oh, that's no problem.
It's-
I'm not dressed up either.
But come inside. And she starts to reach for the basket, but then decides to just leave it, and then she starts bustling inside, holding the hem of her skirt, up in front of her. And bustles you inside. She starts fussing about, trying to reach into her icebox to get you anything you like to eat. She's doing the whole mother hen thing. Oh, is there anything you'd like to eat? It's a long drive out here, and I've got plenty of food. Would you like something to drink?
Not at all. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the hospitality, but actually, if it's okay with you, I'm here to talk about this affidavit that you gave to the police. This was a long time ago, I know, but do you remember this night? And I slide the affidavit to her.
She picks it up and looks at it, and she just shakes her head. Those idiots. They had an extra eye. It's just like like frankincense. Anyways, yeah, I remember that night.
I was wondering if you could tell me a little about it. I don't know if you know this, but that was my brother that was killed.
I'm so sorry. I did not know. I'll be happy to tell you anything that you need.
I would love if you could even just, I've read the story here, but if you could just tell me what you remember in your own words.
Of course. I was in my house, and I remember hearing King. He's passed away now, but my terrier. He was barking, and then he stopped, and I knew that Jacob had fed him food, and I told him, don't table scrap King. He's gonna get sick. And he never listens. So I was outside to give him an earful. And as I was heading out the door, I heard the sound of the car hitting the railing. And I started to scold Jacob, and he told me to be quiet and that there was something going on. A car had went off the bridge. Well, I immediately picked up King and scooped him up and ran across. And there was the car laying at the bottom of the ravine there, the bridge, and it was on fire. And then Jacob and I were gasping, and I ran back inside to call, and when I came out, there was another car there with a handsome man. Ooh, he was a devilish sight. And he had on a really nice suit, and he was leaning on the hood of the car, and he looked sort of confused and panicked at the same time.
Do you remember anything else about him or his car or anything? I have an affidavit from him as well, but I don't have accurate contact information, and I would really like to speak to him.
It was a dark-colored car. It was a dark-colored car, but it wasn't black. It was more of like a purple, I want to say.
Okay.
Like I said, the street light was the only thing we had for light, and it was a bit of purple colored. His suit was gray or silver, or something along those lines. I want to say gray because it didn't really shimmer or anything else like that. But again, like I said, it was dark, and he was handsome, but he wasn't young. He wasn't old. And that's
Had you
what I
ever
remember.
seen him before?
Oh, for the life of me, no, I've never seen him before.
Or since?
I never really thought about that. You know what? Before I left that house, not because of Jacob. Jacob ended up being a good neighbor. But before I left, I remember it wasn't the same car. It was gray, but not gray like painted. Gray like it wasn't painted.
Like it was just the bare metal?
Yes, like that. And I remember seeing the windows down, and I remember seeing the man. And it struck me because of how striking he was. And he drove by, and I remember seeing another man sitting in the seat next to him, much younger, also handsome. Not as much as this fellow, but still. And they slowed down as they got to the bridge. Not to a stop, but they slowed down and they left.
How long after the accident was this?
Oh dear, I've been here for 8 years, so I would say it was probably 10 years.
Luis, this is going to seem like a strange question. What did you feel about that man that you saw that night, and then when you saw him later, was there anything off or suspicious or that made you uncomfortable or anything? How did you feel?
Other than the fact that I noticed he was handsome, no other feelings about him, one way or the other. So do you mean like, was he shifty or lying?
Well, just, yeah, what kind of vibe was he putting off?
I'm not really sure. He seemed... We were all being questioned by different officers at the time that the accident happened, and I remember thinking that Jacob was going to tell them everything that happened that evening, including the minute-by-minute activities of King and myself. I thought that man would never shut up. But I remember that the young man with the handsome face wasn't big talk. They seemed to take very little time with him before moving on.
Okay. If you remember anything else, could I give you my number and would you be willing to call me if if you think of anything else that might be important.
Golly Von Calloway. Get out
I
of
trust
here.
that, of course, you'll keep my number in confidence.
Of course.
I really appreciate it. I told your friend Jacob. I was very young when James died, and my parents wanted to protect me. They wouldn't ever tell me anything. So just talking to you and him today has been more than I've ever talked about that night with anyone.
It's hard losing someone that way, and especially when you don't know what happened and keeping things quiet the way they did. I heard the car hit the rail. But I will tell you one other thing. I never heard brakes. I never heard a squeal of a tire. Jacob says otherwise, but I promise you, I was paying attention.
That's very good to know. Thank you.
You're welcome. Good luck, dear.
Thank you so much.
All right. And as you pile back into the car, where's your next stop going to be?
I don't think I have much more to go on with what I've got with me in the paperwork. So I think I would probably be heading back home to go back over things, figure out if, there's someone I can call to put more of this together. But yeah, I think I would just have Paul bring me
Okay.
back home at this point.
All right. So as you make your way back, the cops have a lot of questions for you, Dr. White. The ambulance is on scene to make sure the wound, but you hear the EMT that arrives kind of whistle for a moment and go, "That's a clean stitch you've got in your shoulder there."
Yes, the gentleman who fixed me up, his wife is a patient of mine. He used to be a field medic, apparently.
Oh, it's a good thing. It's superficial. It'll heal in a few days. Not that I need to tell you that. And about that time, he closes up what few things he has and skips back to the ambulance to take care of the rest of the scene. The detective that walks over is your typical black and white film detective. He's got almost like Jack's dress on. He's got the longer coat. He has a hat on, but he has a notebook and a badge stuck in the coat pocket. As he walks over, he's a bit of a thicker build, like me. He walks over to you. So, go over the story for me one more time, if you don't mind.
Yes, so the gentleman there, I never even got his name, but the one who was shot had approached me a couple of months ago about donating money to my clinic on the grounds that I would give off the books treatment to any of the people that he brought in, and I turned him down and had not heard from him from quite a while. And then today, when we were having a meeting, because we're trying to do just that, we're trying to expand the facility a couple of blocks, and someone was there who I knew was donating money anyway, brought up this man's offer again. And to try to get him out of this situation, I decided that I would try to talk to this man by myself.
This man on the ground whose name, and he flips through his notebook, Rupert Ives.
Yes, Mr. Ives.
And you said the big fella, you'd never seen him before.
No, unless he was driving the car the first time, but I'll be honest, there were two other men crammed in that back seat. It was a different car, so I'm not sure that he was the driver before. But Mr. Henrik, who was donating to the clinic, came in, and I could tell that he was not in a good space. Apparently, Mr. Ives had got a hold of Mr. Henrik and kind of forced him to re-emphasize his offer. And I thought that I would just try to talk to Mr. Ives myself. We went for a ride, and things got physical. And in the course of that, the back seat got kicked, the driver swerved and hit the light pole. And when we got out, the confrontation between myself and Mr. Ives continued. And this gentleman over here drew his gun and shot, I assume at me, but killed his employer instead.
Yeah. Do you know where Mr. Henrik is at this time to collaborate the story that you've given me?
Yeah, I left him at the deli that is right next to my clinic. I saw the car, recognized the man inside, and so asked him to step inside to try to get him out of the situation.
Dr. White, do you often find yourself getting into vehicles with what is established as known criminals?
I did not realize. I mean, I realized he was a known. I mean, I realized he was a criminal. I suppose I didn't realize he was a known criminal. But I wasn't quite sure where else to turn when someone was trying to force their way into my clinic, because the one time that I have mentioned it to the authorities, it was just kind of laughed off. Why would they want something like that? And to me, it seems obvious why they would want to have some money in a medical clinic.
Well, you didn't shoot anybody. All you did was defend yourself. All I can say is you're either very brave or very stupid, but one thing is sure, you're very lucky. I don't even know how that gun... That's not a regular gun jam. There's so many questions we've got here. I need to speak to Mr. Henrik himself, but I'll go round him up. I have no further questions, and he reaches into his pocket to pull out his card, and he gives it to you. If you have any other answers or any other information that you can provide to me, I would greatly appreciate it. And he hands you the card there.
And what's his name?
It is...
Davenport. No, I don't know.
That's I've got it written down, but it was just like one of those moments where it's Detective Calhoun.
Detective Calhoun, may I ask you a question actually before you go? Have you noticed an uptick in stories like this? Someone coming along, offering money forcefully into a business to try to get some more territory?
He kind of leans his head to the left and looks and kind of steps closer. No, Dr. White. Do you have more stories of getting into cars with individuals of scrupulous morals?
No, I'm just... The last time I brought this up to someone, they laughed it off. And whenever you tell a story like this to someone and they laugh it off, especially if their job is to look into these things, it would be like if someone came into my clinic with a gunshot wound and I said, "Oh, how did you get this?" And they're like, "Oh, I shot myself cleaning my gun." And I went, "Okay, goodbye." To me, that usually means that the person I'm talking to might be getting paid as well. And so it's always nice to have someone you know that you can talk to when you see things like this, who will actually take it for what it's worth.
Oh, I see. So what you're saying is that if someone should happen to wander into your clinic looking for help, but keeping it quiet or with a fishy story, like, oh, he fell down the stairs a couple of times, you want somebody that you can report it to or at least talk to try to clear up what happened? Is that my understanding?
Yes, or if I find someone who comes in having pushed someone down the stairs and got cut up themselves in the doing so, someone who might be able to come in and take a look at them before I let them back out onto the street to see if, I don't know, they're a familiar face.
He takes the pen that he has in his hand that he was writing notes in, and he reaches out and taps the card that's still like in your hand. He goes, like that. He goes, "Yeah, you happen to come across any of those people, give me a call."
And can I try to get do I need to roll? I want to get a read on him. Essentially, what I'm just trying to figure out is, does he seem like he's on the up and up, or does he seem like he might be on the take, as the kids say back in the 1950s?
So like, basically, you're trying to. There's not an insight, but it would be more of an investigation.
Yeah.
You're kind of investigating. At least from my understanding, that's how that one would work, because it doesn't really fit any of the other criteria. Because he's not dangerous to you at the moment. So.
Yeah, and so there might not even be a need to make a roll if he's not trying to conceal anything or be dangerous. But I could use chief physician, like I'm trying to use that medical, that position of power. And then boy, I actually think that might be it.
Real quick, Sly Mother, that's funny. He tripped and fell on some bullets.
Makes me think of Mystery Men.
Yes.
Your father was pushed down an elevator shaft. Yes, onto some bullets. Oh no, I can't tell if he's lying to me or not. I'm gonna take his word for it.
You cannot get a read on him.
This is where we're gonna cut ahead to next week as he shoots me in the back after I've called him in for help.
He turns and locks the door. That is unfortunate. I'm so sorry Dr. White has to go out that way. No. Yeah, he doesn't. He seems hard-nosed. As a matter of fact, anybody... I'm going to throw this out here. Is anybody a Batman fan? Detective Bullock?
Okay.
But without being corrupt.
Yeah. But it's just hard to talk to.
Yeah, he's very much he's very much a no-nonsense kind of guy. Jack would probably get along with it great.
Yeah, so I will pocket the card and head back to the diner to see if Hendrik is there, so we can tell him to wait for the cops.
All right, and as you guys move along that way, we are going to take a break in a moment, but before we do, I want to do one last thing. Professor Owens, your vehicle pulls up, and there's already a long, squared-off vehicle sitting out there. The fins on the back of this Chevrolet are starting to rise up. They're not quite to that point where they're allowing you to skate across the sky with them, but they're starting to rise up. It's a nice car. And as you watch, leaning on the car is a rather large man in a suit that is the only way he can fit into it is as if it were tailor-made for him. I use the term man because he does have definitely a square jaw, a slight beard, but he looks like a moving wall. His shoulders have got to be almost 62 inches across, which my shoulders are like 54, so this guy is massively big. As you get out, he steps and kind of like leans off of the car, and you watch as in response, the springs in the vehicle allow it to rise up to its normal height with a creak that's audible even inside your own vehicle as it pulls up. He walks over, and with hands too large to really operate the door, but deft enough to do so, he opens the rear door. Out of the back of the vehicle steps a man who's probably about 5'7", slight of build, with dark hair and green eyes. He's a striking figure. As he gets out, you can see that he is dressed as best as he can. And that means he spent a lot of money on it. As he steps forward out of the vehicle, you pull up and step out of your own. He walks over, and he's got a white scarf around his neck. He has a pair of gloves in his hand, and he shrugs them onto his hands and then offers you a hand-to-hand shake. It is good to see you. I am Mr. Martin.
Okay, would I recognize this Mr. Martin? Like...
Never seen him before in your life.
Okay. He does have gloves on, yeah?
He put them on as you pulled up.
Okay. I'll shake his hand. And hopefully not turn into gold.
No, it is not him.
Okay. Yeah, No, I figured it wasn't Yeah. Okay. I'll shake his hand. Pleasure to make your acquaintance.
The pleasure is mine. I can guarantee you. My associate, and he looks over his shoulder and looks back at you. Carl, will stay here with the vehicle. I trust it is safe inside the warehouse.
Yes,
Excellent.
we keep up to all the safety specifications that the law requires.
If only there were an OSHA. Anyways, he motions to you to lead the way. And as you go on your tour of the factory, we'll come back to that point after our short break. Give us about 10 minutes, guys, and we'll be back. We're going to get up, stretch our legs, refill our drinks, maybe scarf down a quick bite to eat. Again, a huge shout out to World Anvil and to Die Hard Dice for being our sponsors this evening and every Wednesday. We will be back. We will see you soon. Thank you all for tuning in. Go spread the word. Obscurum is on. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you very much for sticking around with us while we got up, stretched our legs, refilled our drinks, and in my case, like, had a little snack to go. Anyways, when we left off, Henry, or Mr. Martin, is walking. You're walking, Mr. Martin, through your warehouse and some of the other locations. He seems to be like, no, yes, and very interesting. This is all very nice. It's all a very nice setup that you have. So, do you have a place where we can talk in private, the two of us?
Yes, my office. Upstairs. You'll just follow me.
Certainly. And you make your way up to the office, and he sits down across from you. I don't know how much you are looking for, but I can tell you what I am willing to offer. And he reaches into his jacket and pulls out a very nice pen and a little notepad, and he writes down a number, and you can hear the scratch of the pen on the paper. That, and he writes, and then he writes a very familiar hand gesture of, and then he looks at you for a moment, tears the paper off, folds it in half, and slides it across.
I look at the piece of paper.
First number is a 7.
Okay.
And it is followed by 4 zeros. Yeah, 4 zeros. The number was in my head, and then I wait. No, that's right. So 7 with 4 zeros, $70,000. I take it that this will perhaps get my foot in the door.
I'm listening. Let's as
Attention getting money. I
yes,
understand.
as before we do anything, just tell me a bit about yourself, Mr. Martin. What do you do? What's the inner life of Henry Martin?
This is not a date.
Well, no, but I enjoy to get to know my business partner. I'm not fond of dealing with disreputable individuals, so to speak.
He
In
turns
fact,
his head slowly and looks at you in offense. Are you saying that I am not a man of honor?
No.
Character?
No. All I am saying is that it's I here at Owen Chemical Company, we enjoy to deal with normal law-abiding citizens, which I am 100% sure you are one of. So I'm just interested in getting to know you a little bit.
You say you like to get to know your business partners a bit. But
Yes.
from where I stand, you have not accepted my offer, which does not make us business partners yet.
But
Perhaps you need more. And he writes down again on the piece of paper, tears this one off, puts it down, and slides the other one across to himself. He kind of crumples it up and just drops it on the floor. Perhaps that number will be better for it.
okay.
It's a 9 followed by 4 zeros.
Cool.
That's very much a Colton saying that right there.
Mr. Martin, it's not that I don't appreciate this number, which I do. don't get me wrong. I appreciate this number immensely. I just want to, know who you are. I just is sort of a, I don't know. It's an idiosyncrasy of mine. I just want to, get to know who I am going to be doing business with. And I do intend to do business.
Has anyone ever told you yammer on too much?
Almost every single person I have met.
Perhaps you should take a hint or a message from this. If many people agree, obviously there is a truth to be found in that.
Oh yes.
What I am is a private investor looking to help bolster the money that Owen's Chemical makes by feeding it some of my own, and also to help a learned man further his research in those things that he finds an interest. My money is clean through your company. You do not have to worry about my reputation. I promise you this. Now, what I am is an investor. I offer you a hefty set of change for this. If you are not happy with this, perhaps talking to the shareholders would have been a better idea. If the offer does not appease you, and he pushes away from the table standing up, grabbing the slip of paper that has the 90K written on there, and slides it back across to himself. It was a very nice tour.
Oh, Mr. Martin, I am happy to do this. I just will have to draw up some contracts. I'm more than willing to accept your money in exchange for goods and services provided by Owen Chemical Company in the form of stocks. I just, figured I'd find out a bit more of who is buying part of my company.
I am a very private person. You understand?
I seem to understand at this point now, yes.
Good. Good. I am glad that we have come to an understanding. Please, draw up your contract. You can drop them here. And he pulls out a card. And he hands it to you. And it reads on the card, Temple Investor LLC.
Okay.
Actually, no, I take that back. It's Temple Investment Firm.
All right. Is it possible I could swing by today? I'll have my lawyers do the lawyer thing, and I can swing by to bring these over.
He takes the piece of paper that still has the 90K written on there.
Mhm.
He sets it down in front of you and slides it across and goes, yes. That is the amount we agreed upon. Yes?
Yes, and just remind me, what, out of character question, what percentage of the company was he looking to buy? Like,
Just enough to have a seat at the table with the shareholders, but still not a controlling part. So
Okay.
less than 50%, actually less than 49% since the controlling is 51.
okay,
So, with what you know, the company's value and things like that, at that amount that he's offered you, he's looking to purchase in at about 25%.
okay. And
So-
would that still leave me with, a controlling?
You still have the controlling factor on it. The thing about it is that with shareholders, you're looking at making more to share out so
Yeah.
that it levels out, but that everybody still controls what they have. It's very complicated, but since I left that life a long time ago, like 20 years ago, I left that life behind me. I've forgotten most of it by now.
Okay,
But-
yeah,
But yeah, basically you would still be the controlling factor.
perfect. Then I will bid him adieu in the classic Robert Owens fashion by, as soon as he gets out of the building, creating a myrmidon and having it follow him in. Just to see what's...
He shakes your hand and leaves the building. He climbs into the back seat again, his human wall opening the door for him. And then you watch as the human wall, in almost a cartoonesque fashion, wedges itself in and across the front seat. Not just there. Not just in the driver's seat, but literally almost across the entire front seat. And then he just takes his hands on the wheel and puts the car in motion and leaves out. You put a little myrmidon to follow behind it.
Yeah, let's a wasp, probably.
Excellent. A few hours have passed, Jack, and the phone rings again. This time, though, it is Hogan.
It's
Not Hogan. I'm sorry. I apologize. Not Hogan. It's your
Whoa.
buddy, Jimmy the cop.
Oh, okay. Ooh, wrong page in the notes.
I'm back
scared.
from the dead. Yeah, that would be a haunting nightmare. That's where the story should have gone. No,
Jack
it is
Casey.
Jimmy. Jack, it's Jimmy.
Hey, Jimmy, that was fast.
Well, oddly enough, it's a rather new number. Easy to find. Belongs to a place downtown, and he gives you the address. And he tells you the name of the place is Temple Investment Firm.
All right. Thank you very much. I'll see you on Sunday.
Of course. You're bringing the bourbon.
Ha! It's the only thing I can afford.
No, not the bottom shelf stuff. You know what? Never mind. I'll provide the bourbon. Just get your arse over here. And he hangs up the phone.
I don't want to call the number back until I have a chance to talk with who might be helping. So, I'm going to. What time of day is it?
Well, they met at lunch after lunch, so it's probably about 3 or so in the afternoon.
All right. Well, there's one person who's probably at his office. I'm going to start by trying to call Dr.
Okay. After leaving the Detective Calhoun, you went back and found Bill and had the conversation with him, giving him Calhoun's number, I assume, so that they can talk. And then you finally realize you're kind of hungry. And you make your way back into your office, where immediately hens that denizen there in your office descend upon you with much clucking and cooing.
Well, what's the matter? Is everything all right?
You've got blood on you. What have you been doing?
There was a car accident. It's not. And I'm like trying to get through the lobby so I can change, so that people aren't freaking out by this Macbeth-style bloody handprint on my chest.
It's on your shoulder but still, yes, that's apropos. Very Macbeth bloody handprint. You finally convince them enough to let you back into your office, where you can change out. As you open the door to your office, there is a figure standing there. You haven't seen her in a few weeks, not since your date at the Tilt-A-Whirl.
Oh, hello. Is everything all right?
Actually, it's good to see. Are you okay? And she immediately moves over to you, inspecting the wound on your shoulder, and she looks and she goes, "That's not your blood, is it?"
No, it's not. You'd be amazed. I don't know if you had the opportunity to meet Mrs. Johansson, but her husband actually put this stitch in my shoulder. Apparently, he used to be a field medic.
Oh, it's a lovely. That will heal nicely. No, I'm sorry. I came here to tell you. I don't know why I came here to tell you. It's not. Anyways, I've accepted a residency spot at St. Augustine's, and I wanted to tell you.
Oh, and I kind of look down. That's a very well-funded facility, and yes, it would be a great place to interact with some very strong people in the field. And it's kind of like I'm a little flustered and going over to the cabinet and like opening it up and finding a new jacket and stuff as I'm saying this.
Alexander.
Yes.
I know this is your clinic, and I can't thank you enough for having me here and helping and things like that, but there's another reason why I took the residency at the hospital. And she pushes a brown lock back behind her ear and smiles at you. Because fraternization between two doctors at a clinic really is frowned upon.
Oh. I instinctively go with the bad news of you won't be here every day, but I suppose I can possibly see an upside to that.
Anyways, I will let you get back to... I'm not going to ask.
Yes.
Make sure you take care of that shoulder.
Yes. Perhaps give me a call tonight, and if you wouldn't mind taking a look at it to make sure that it's healing correctly and everything.
She dips her chin but gives you a sly smile. She goes, "Sure." And then she leaves, turning one last time to give you a glance. She exits the room. In the conversation and everything else like that, there is a card and a note left on your desk.
I'm going to go over to it and look at it.
The note it's written by Margaret, one of the ladies that works the front, and the card itself says Temple Investment Firm, but the note says possible expansion offer investors, please call them when you can.
For God's sake. When it rains, it pours. I'm going to tuck it into my pocket. Oh, no, I'm not. I'm going to call them. Like, that's it. I'm out of the story for the rest of the evening. I'm just seeing patients. No, I will call them.
I mean, you can do what you want to. Feeds you some line. The phone rings, and it's the very Temple Investment Firm. How may I direct your call?
Yes, I was just given this number to return. My name is Dr. White. I run the clinic on 13th and Wabash. It was about an investment.
Yes, please hold. And you hear that dead air as the disconnect and then the reconnect into the correct plug goes on. As you are being funneled into the right line. There is a trill on the line, and the phone is answered. Is this Dr. White?
Yes.
I take it you've got my note.
I did.
I'm looking to invest and expand. Understand, though, that I'm not looking for the caveat that those degenerates are looking for. I don't want you to patch up anybody who's hurt or do anything off the record. You're a good man. You do a lot of good for this community. And I want to see that it's repaid, or you get your just dues.
So, would it be safe to say that this investment might be put in place so that another one isn't required from less savory locations?
I'm working on that aspect of it, but yes, that is my intention.
Very well. if you wouldn't mind stopping by at some point, or I could come see you. I'd like to have a chat with whoever is making an investment. I'm sure you can
Of
understand that
course.
if you're trying to keep unfortunate people
Yes.
out as well.
Yeah, actually, that would be fantastic if you could. You can come by the office. I'm available. Well, for the better part of the day. Tomorrow should be tied up, but would love for you to come by. Say a couple of hours.
Yes, that should be fine.
Excellent. And the line is hung up before you can ask any further questions. It's just disconnected. The house is empty, Yvonne, as it always is, which is not to be unexpected, but unfortunately, with all the information, the revelations that have come to you today, there has been just a real kind of an empty feeling as your mind is stretching out even over more of the information that you have. But more importantly, the information you don't have. Who is this well-dressed man? Who is this, the car? What happened there? Why would they obfuscate the truth? You don't have long to revel in those thoughts before the phone rings and it shatters the silence in the house like a 10-pound weight on a piece of glass. It just breaks the silence. Quickly answering.
Hello?
Honey, listen, it's Max. I know we're taking some time off, but I've got a deal for you, and I'm telling you right now, this one, look, the last few, especially the last one, are really going to make a name for yourself. People in the city already know who you are by face. This one, though, this one's going to put you over the top. We have a meeting, though. At 5, it looks like a couple of hours from now. I'll send around my car. We'll go. Okay? Tell Paul to take the night off. If this goes the way that I think it will, I'm telling you right now, you'll be set. You can move uptown.
Okay. I trust you, Max. Yeah, I'll be there.
Excellent. And the phone is hung up quickly. All of you make your preparations, but let's go back to one person. Jack.
Calling Dr. White's office.
Dr. White, before you can leave and to get ready, the phone rings, and it is a familiar voice on the other line.
Jack, how are you?
Hi, Doc. I'm in a moment of indecision. I know I haven't talked to you in a while, and I think it's a shame that we always talk to each other when there's trouble about, but I think there's trouble about.
What gives you that sense?
Because someone just called and tried to hire me to take out one of...
Interesting. I've had 2 offers today for people to donate money to the clinic's expansion.
Do you know who it was from?
Well, one of them is dead. That sounds harsh. There was an incident where his guard was trying to shoot me and instead shot him. But the other one, and I'll pull the card out. What was the name on the card again?
Temple Investment.
Yeah, the other one is Temple Investment. And he was very blunt about wanting to donate so that others wouldn't, because he knew that the others were trying to curry some kind of favor or leverage some kind of special benefit with their money.
Well, that's strange, because the fellow who wanted to remain anonymous me left me a service number that traces back to Temple Investment.
Huh. Well, perhaps we should... I'm actually headed over there within the hour for a meeting. Perhaps you'd like to tag along.
You mind if I watch your back?
Huh. I couldn't think of anyone I'd rather have watching my back.
Do you think we should get the band together?
I think that the way things have gone lately, if it's connected to one of us, it somehow seems to be connected to all of us.
My fear is someone approaching you and someone wanting to talk to me about the bosses and stuff shaken up in town lately might know more about our involvement than we want. So I think the others may already.
Well, I think that we go and we talk, and I mean, isn't this part of what Obscurum is supposed to be for? Shouldn't we be able to, I don't know, contact them and say, hey, someone's poking around. Could you obscure this? Isn't that... And I'm like frustrated in this moment at the idea of what happened with the decision Jack and I made, and the possibility of it still having gotten around and somehow connected to not the mask, but the people.
Look, calm down. I understand. Let's just get together.
Yes, all right, thank you. I'll see you in just a little bit.
So I assume from that conversation that you're going to contact the others. One of you will contact the others and kind of give them the rundown on what's going on.
I assume Dr. White is going to call Yvonne, so I'm going to call Professor Owens.
Okay. Vespa informs you that he is not at the house, that he is currently attending a meeting at the office, and she provides you with a number. The phone rings, and the front desk the front desk answers, and she informs you that, he's in a... Oh, wait, there he goes. And you hear her calling out to you, Professor Owens. You pick up the phone quickly, and the conversation.
Hey, Professor. Oh, I can't hear you. Something's wrong with your line.
Jiggle the cable.
Jack, how are you doing today?
Oh, there you are. All right.
What can I do for you? I'm just about to I have some business to attend.
Hey, listen. You have like a big fancy house and a fancy company, right? You know about people that move money?
A little?
You ever heard of Temple Investments?
Funny you should mention that name. I'm actually on my way right now to discuss a purchase of some stock with a person from Temple Investment.
You don't say. Would you mind if I ride along with you?
Sure. Yeah, that's
We're gonna meet up with Dr. White as well.
cool. Yes, no, that's perfectly fine. I'll stop by and
Yeah, meet us at this diner.
okay.
All right. Another conversation being had at the same time, Dr. White, as you ring up Yvonne. What information are you guys sharing?
Hello.
Yvonne, how are you?
I'm doing okay. I was looking into my brother today, and it's been a rough one.
I'm sorry to disturb you. We have been having some encounters with Temple Investment, and we're actually headed that way. I was offered some money for the clinic expansion, and Jack was contacted by them through a number that he was able to trace back to put a hit out. And so it was just feels like one of those things where I can't figure out what has its hooks in some of us and what has them in all of us, and if there's a difference. So we're headed over there. I wasn't sure if you might like to come along, stretch your feet. Stretch your feet, that's not the right saying. Stretch your legs. Little known fact, Yvonne, enormous feet. She's got to stretch them out. Like Peggy
That's why
Hill.
they always shoot her from like the knees up.
Don't tell anyone.
Talking to Yvonne makes the doctor so...
Why are you always wearing
I'm
clown shoes? They're the only ones that fit.
But yeah, so get out and stretch your legs.
What?
I'm actually leaving. I could pick you up if you like.
Well, I'm afraid it doesn't sound like this one involves me because I have a meeting with Max and I promised him I'd be there. It sounded pretty urgent. He said something about this being the thing that's going to make my career, and he's never led me astray, so I don't think I should cancel on him.
That's fair. I wish I could find a way. I've got this weird feeling in the pit of my stomach that you're going to talk to Max and you're going to hear the name Temple Investment. So I can't shake it, but give a call when you can, I suppose.
I will.
All right. The phone hangs up, and much to your... Well, actually, no, not to your surprise at all. As the car pulls up to retrieve you, Max inside, of course, dressed in more of a seersucker suit than anything else, but he invites you into the vehicle. As you take off, he says, "They called me out of the blue, and they said, listen, Max, Bubala, we've got a deal for you. You've got to get over here. Bring your girl. Looks like this place wants to invest a lot of money in some of the films around here. And of course, they said the deal only happens if you're there."
Let me guess, Max. Temple Investments?
How did you... That's weird.
Call it a lucky guess.
And he kind of regales you with the story of what happened and what they're looking to do. And it's a lot of basically floating production costs and things like that. The cars pull up as though fate were deciding it, or an MC. The cars pull up almost at the same time, a little bit behind one another. The building itself is not very tall, 3 stories at most. And it's more of a square than a big rectangle sprawling thing. It's one of those that has like different offices within it. You know, so you like walk in and there's a door to this office on the left and a door to this office, and other offices are found upstairs. As you go in, you see that the office that it directs you to is up the staircase. Once more, you kind of all look at one another. Fancy seeing you all here. Who's leading point up the staircase to this door? Max is, by the way, shocked that your friends are here too. Well, that's good to know.
All I gotta say, all I'm imagining is just the Spider-Man meme. The like 2 Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, pointing at each other. Yeah. I suppose I have the briefcase. I might as well lead point.
Okay.
Yeah.
The staircase ends.
You're all here.
The staircase ends in a balcony, and you can see a single door, and it just has on the plaque, which looks fresh, Temple Investment Firm. Now, opening the door, or knocking on the door, I should say. A young lady answers it. She's wearing a pencil skirt that comes down below her knees and a top that has a wide collar to it. A pair of horn-rimmed glasses on her face, a bubblegum pink lipstick that kind of suits her, but also kind of makes her look like she's more or less mature than what she is. She opens the door and then just kind of motions you all in. You can see that there is a smoked glass front with another door that leads inside. She says, "Wait here, I'll get him for you." And she leaves the room. I'm going to give you guys a brief second. Is there anything that anybody would like to convey, RP, or talk about before we go?
Robert makes sure he has some vials of insect on him.
Jack is leaning in and trying to motion everybody.
Yeah, lean in.
Yeah.
I think this is very important that you should know. Whatever you think you're here for, that's not what you're here for. This guy, he's behind something. he's trying to take out some of the mob bosses in the city, and I think he somehow knows we are mixed up in it. Watch what you say.
Understood.
You don't imagine that all of the talking that has been done about the thing that's coming, we know very well that sometimes things can be hidden in people. Someone who's trying to take out all the mob bosses. What are the chances that this is the Leviathan? I mean, imagine coming in, spreading wealth around, coming off like a hero, taking out all the other competition, and then you have no competition.
What does that make us? Because from where I see it, that would make us a threat.
Yes, I will try to get a read on him as soon as we get in the door to see if I can see what might be hiding inside of him.
Okay, question. Out of character question. Is the assistant out of the room? So is just us four?
She went
in the room?
she went into the other room where the
Cool.
smoked glass is.
I'm going to summon Abiel. Or create Abiel. She's my assistant. She
I like the
came in
idea of the
after.
assistant still being there, and we've just like face palmed her. Just shh, don't listen to this.
I would like to say before anybody says anything else, there's the four of you, but there is one more person in that room.
Max.
Oh.
Max is also in
Right.
this room.
Right. Cool.
Is
have
that
been
your thing tonight?
I have been watching way too much Brooklyn Nine-Nine. My roommate has been binge watching it, and it's a thing. Okay. I'm going to go outside. Summon
Smooth.
Abiel, and then quickly come back in.
Real smooth.
Oh yeah.
Oh, my assistant who is waiting in the hallway.
Yes.
The whole entire time. Oh look, she brought the briefcase with her that I was holding a moment ago. You see nothing.
It's not the most smooth.
It's on.
act
It's
I've
on
done,
brand for Professor Owen.
Yeah, I was
so.
just about to say that. That's
All right. Obviously leaving the room and obviously re-entering with Abiel, Max kind of goes, whoa, you know what? It's better that I don't know.
What?
Aren't these...
Not like she was in his pocket.
I just give Jack a look.
As do I.
Aren't you... Don't I know you folks?
I'm not sure we've ever formally met. Professor Robert Owen. Pleasure.
Oh, nice to meet you. And he shakes your hand. Max.
We met very briefly at the Tilt-A-Whirl.
That's where I know you guys from. That's right, Dr. White.
Dr. White, yes.
Yeah, it's a
Nice
pleasure.
to see you again, Max.
Good to see you again, too. Taking care of yourself, I see. And I want to say Jack, that's right. Wow.
Yeah, he's Professor Red. I'm Colonel Mud.
I like this one. He's funny. The door, you hear the sound of the door with the smoked glass open, and you hear a voice say, "And I'm James Temple." You turn and look, wearing black Oxford shoes, a blue, very thin pinstripe suit that has 6 buttons buttoning over across the double-breasted one with the wide lapels, a red power tie, hair perfectly coiffed, stands a man that to most of you doesn't look familiar at all. Yvonne, he looks older than any picture you have of him, but he didn't change his name. There stand James Calloway. And that's where we're going to call it for this evening. I want to thank you one and all for tuning in. I just completely poleaxed Yvonne there. But more fun to be had in our next session. Thank you very much to all of my players. Let's go ahead and go around again one more time, starting with Colton. Tell us a bit about yourself and your character.
Yes, okay, so I'm Colton. I'm playing Professor Robert Owens, a terrible industrialist and a decent entomologist. And you can find me at on Twitter at ColtonX9 and on Instagram at ColtonZ9.
Excellent. Let's see. Nyx, tell us about yourself and your character.
Yeah, I am Nyx. I'm playing Yvonne Calloway, screen actress, and I am in real life an actor and director, gamer, and GM based in Chicago. You can find me on Twitter at Nyx Tesseract and on Instagram at Nyx_Tesseract. Next con appearance I am making is Con of the North in Minneapolis. It is Valentine's Day weekend. I believe the exact dates are the 14th and 15th. And I will be there running a few sessions of Monster of the Week on behalf of the Crit Show.
Awesome. I was going to say, make sure you announce anything that you guys are going to be showing up at. So let's go ahead and go over to Rev.
I'm Rev. I'm the host and GM of The Crit Show, which is an actual play podcast where we play Monster of the Week and other Powered by the Apocalypse games under the same dimension-hopping story. You can find The Crit Show anywhere. Just search The Crit Show. That is our thing on everything. You can find me on Twitter at Rev Deshane. And also, I just saw this. I want to make sure to point this out. The art we have underneath of our characters, that is by Adriana, and she is at Alessa Vamp with 2 V's. You can find her on Twitter.
2 P's.
Thank you.
Not 2 V's.
Did I say 2 V's?
2 P's.
I have a cold, so
That's what we'll go with. It's the bullet wound. When is your next appearance?
There might be one over at Origins. I haven't got the schedule in for it yet. But yeah, we should go over to Origins.
Awesome. And then we'll throw it down to Mr. Carl.
Hi, I'm Carl Jordan. You can find me on Twitter as RP. I, until recently, was in an Aberrant 2.0 game over on the Onyx Path channel called Community Service. You can see all 11 episodes now that we wrapped last night on YouTube on the Onyx Path channel. I'm also going to be at Winter Fantasy, as is Heath. It's a big D&D convention in Fort Wayne, Indiana, hosted by a lot of the guys who do the Adventure League content, Baldman Games. I will be running a D&D LARP. We're reprising a LARP that we got to do for the very first time at Gen Con this past year, and we're doing an updated version of it at Winter Fantasy. And the outcome of the players' actions in the LARP have an effect on the Adventure League content for next year, for next season. So it's a lot of fun.
Yep, I'm looking forward to it. Not to cut you off, Gen Con was one of my first times running for them, and it's been a blast. And speaking of, I will be at Winter Fantasy. And again, my name is Heath Halbrook. You can find me on the web at DireBearAC on Twitter and at DireBearGM on Twitch. I will be there at Winter Fantasy along with Carl. Unfortunately, I'll be running tabletops. Although he and I talked about LARP along with Sarah, talking about me getting to the LARP. But unfortunately, by the time I signed up with it, I have one of my co-DMs and partner with Dire Bear who is going to be there running games. And this will be the first time that she's done this. So I wanted to be at a table. So if she needed me, I was there. But I will be there. And that is in Fort Wayne, Indiana, February the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th. I know it says the 5th, but they don't really have anything until 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th. But yeah, come out and play Adventures League with me, running games if you can. There was something else I was going to touch on, and my brain just went blank. So what I will do is sign off here, saying thank you all very much for tuning in and having us on tonight. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much to all of my fantastic players and to our sponsors. Have a great night, and until next week, take care of yourself.